Twitter prices later on today. It starts actually trading tomorrow. Our next guest is the Chief Marketing Officer of a media and marketing company, IMS. They help businesses to expand in Latin America, and they are doing that exactly for Twitter. Maren Lau, welcome to the program. Welcome indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Now, at the moment, Twitter is making most of its revenue, its money, comes from American users of Twitter. Are you going to tell me that if you can successfully expand in Latin America, that can be a source of profitability and revenue as well?
Great question. IMS, as you noted, is a media and marketing company. Yep. We work with companies such as Twitter, Waze, Spotify, and Netflix to expand and to scale into Latin America. So, to your point, why Latin America? Latin America today is boasting one of the fastest growing internet populations in the world. We're seeing more than 12% growth year over year. That's compared to about 4% in the United States. So, a very dynamic region for digital companies to enter into and scale.
Is Twitter there now? I mean, it's got a presence, obviously, in Latin America, right?
Twitter is there now.
And your job is to expand that presence.
We are their ad sales partner within Latin America. We launched with them last year, in September of last year.
How are you doing? How are you convincing Latin Americans, get on board with Twitter? It's a dynamic social network. You got to be on it. What are you saying?
Well, Latin America actually today has one of the highest, most engaged social media populations in the world. 4 out of 10 countries in the world with the most engagement on these platforms are within Latin America. So to put that in another context, about 94% of Latin America internet users are on social media platforms, be it a Twitter, a Facebook, etc., while we see about 65% of that in the United States today. So a very engaged, highly dynamic user base that navigates towards these kinds of platforms naturally.
How are you selling Twitter as different in a way from Facebook? Because you don't represent Facebook, do you?
We don't work with Facebook.
All right, so here's your opportunity to bash Facebook if you wish to take it. How are you different? How is Twitter different from Facebook?
I think that Twitter has a high engagement with mobile, has a high engagement with television, has a real-time relevance that we're seeing that is very unique among social platforms today. It's a very dynamic offering that we see. Users are tweeting while they're watching the television. It's always on. They're on their mobile. A region like Latin America, where we have such a high social media penetration and such a high mobile penetration.
Why do you think? Why do you think there's this high penetration rate that you talk about, higher in Latin America than, say, Africa or parts of anywhere? And where is it higher than?
Sure.
Latin America is higher than what?
There's a cultural proclivity towards social media engagement, so it's higher than usage in the United States.
What's a cultural proclivity?
Right, a 90% versus the U.S., which is about 60%.
What's a social?
It's a very ebullient society. Latin Americans love to talk. They love to exchange ideas. They love to be on social networks. They love to be on their mobile phones speaking to people.
But isn't it also something to do with the idea that the free press isn't necessarily as free in certain countries, and maybe there's more anxiety, there's more anger? We saw the blow up in Brazil when the bus rate was going to go up. It feels like there's a lot more friction. The kind of things that drive traffic on Twitter, a lot more of that friction in Latin America than, say, a more tranquil place like America.
Not necessarily. I think that 2 of the topics of conversation that always rise to the top on social networks within Latin America, be it Twitter or other platforms, are politics, as you mentioned, and sports. So, for example, football, which is in Latin America soccer, right, has a tremendous opportunity, especially in advance of the World Cup, which is coming to Latin America next year in 2014.
Oh, you think that'll be a Twitter driver?
I think it'll be a huge Twitter driver. I think it'll be a huge opportunity for many global marketers looking to engage within Latin America. This December 6th, for example, is the World Cup draw, when we're going to see advertisers understand which countries are playing on which date. So a key date to keep in mind. And certainly next summer in Latin America, which will be entering winter there in many countries, will be a fantastic opportunity for global brands to make their messages heard.
Maren Lau, we wish you the best of luck. I know you can't comment on the IPO coming out tomorrow. That's not your turf. Nope. You're not allowed to do it. But we thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff. We've got